I welcome into the Blueprint, the postseason edition. Saw Devin in Indianapolis this weekend, where Ohio State took on Indiana. And then, of course, we're recording on Monday. Yesterday was Selection Sunday. We know Michigan's going to play Texas in the Citrus Bowl, Citrus Bowl, my bad. We'll talk about that later in the show. But for now, Dev, maybe we could start with the Big Ten championship. Big takeaways. Yeah. Indiana did what Michigan couldn't do. They got after Julian Sand.
Mm-hmm. We talked last week about Julian saying how he wasn't touched by Michigan throughout the entire game.
He wasn't touched throughout the whole season.
Yeah, he wasn't touched a bunch. Yeah, not through the whole season, and except for I guess he ran for that first down and we kind of shoved him out of bounds. I guess you can count that as being touched. But he was allowed to just play in the pocket, not really have too much adversity. And he faced his first bit of adversity against Indiana. Like I thought they would, because when you watch that defensive line play, and the game you really want to point to is Oregon. Oregon's offensive line is a really good offensive line in the run and the pass game. And their violence and attitude and energy and ability to fight and strain and play so hard, I just thought that was going to be tested. And I thought they would have an opportunity. I didn't know it would look like that. I didn't think they would get to him as many times, but I knew that there would be a great test for Ohio State as well. This Indiana team is for real. I've said it to anybody that will listen. They are serious. Fernando Mendoza, as quirky as he can be and as weird as it always looks, he is a gamer. And when the game suggests that he needs to be his best self, he's found a way to do that. Some of those deep throws were incredible. Like you said, you were at the game down on the field, and even the ones that weren't complete, right? His game could have been even bigger. Like some of those other ones where it's almost drops or great defense. And it's just like, that is a big, huge, amazing throw. And he was able to do that. And then, though he hadn't completed those deep throws, this is what I really loved. He hadn't completed those deep throws. That didn't discourage him from taking shots late in the game to make sure that this game is done, right? We're not going to be able to just run the ball at Ohio State and finish this game. I'm going to have to make throws, even though I haven't completed a whole bunch of those deep ones. He was still able to make it happen. The emergence of 80 for them, that wide receiver who, when I had Indiana early in the season, he was doing nothing. He wasn't even a part of the offense at all. And I want to remind people, we don't even know how good Indiana is still, because Cooper went out in the first quarter?
Second drive, yeah.
So we don't even know who they are, because that is a huge difference. To have him, Surratt, 80, all three of those guys, now you got real issues for any defensive backfield. And I think they went out to prove something. I had a conversation with their strength coach on the sideline, and he kind of just talked to me about Cignetti and what makes him so special and why they are able to do what they're able to do with 0 5 stars, a couple 4 stars mixed in. And holistically, it's a bunch of no-name, 0-star, 2-star guys who just are fighting. And the reason they believe in themselves so much is a lot of because of Cignetti. He's got a process that he uses, and I don't want to put it all out there just so everybody doesn't steal his stuff, but the process that he's using as far as being the leader of the team and not hammering his team all the time with his voice, right? And listen to this. Any player that's watching, any parent out there that's watching, you understand what I'm saying. Because when you have a kid and you just keep on telling them over and over, they become deaf to your voice, right? Yeah. And a lot of times in leadership, we hammer. And now it's like we need them to hear us, right? We talk so much, but we need them to hear us now, and they're not listening, right? And it helps with a parent or a leader of anything, and he's found a unique way to make sure that his voice continues to be heard when it needs to be heard the most, because he's not bogging them down with coach speak and all these different things. And they've all drunk the Kool-Aid. Every single person on that staff, every single player wearing that uniform, all the fans now, they have all drunk the Kool-Aid. And it's not that Kool-Aid that you say, oh, this is fake Kool-Aid, it can't be repeated over and over. A perfect example of the culture he's built, JMU is in the playoff. Should they be? I don't know, right? You know, maybe it's a better team, group of 5, whatever the case may be. They're in the playoff, and it's 2 years after he left. That coach is a pretty good coach, I'm sure, but the what was built by Cignetti is still the remnants of it is still there at JMU. That's how good of a culture builder he is.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. I've never thought I would see the day that Indiana won a Big Ten championship. I'm just going to tell you. And so someone's talking to me, other day, and I was saying, what? Purdue never win a championship. But then I had to stop myself and say, wait a minute. A couple years ago, we were saying that about Indiana. And Indiana just won the Big Ten championship. And obviously the players get the lion's share of the credit. But what Cignetti has been able to do is the most impressive thing I've ever seen. And I haven't seen all of college football. I'm only 33 years old. However, it's the most impressive thing I've ever seen from a coach in developing a team that was the losingest team in all of college football. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, man, like the takeaway for every other team, Michigan, the rest of college football is like what Cignetti has done, and we talked about this with Bryce specifically about like process oriented. He has mastered the process from a macro level. His selling point to Curtis Rourke last year and to Fernando Mendoza this year was, if you play quarterback for me, you will be the conference player of the year. You will be the MVP. And by now, his word is as solid as gold. When we called games, he has had a plan from day one when he got there. When he was dead serious when he said, he told our Big Ten Network crew when he first got hired, they interviewed him in Indy for the Big Ten championship. He said, we'll be back here next year. And everyone laughed, and he was dead serious. But that's the thing, is he knew he had a plan and a standard. When he first got hired, Dev, they were blowing out teams early. I mean, they blew out Nebraska. And some people were like, man, why are you doing this? Like, take your foot off the gas. And Cignetti said it's because when he first walked into the building, all Indiana understood was losing. He had to change the perception of who the Indiana Hoosier football program is. And then I think most importantly, and you saw this, you alluded to it with the defense, their offensive line, their receivers, that's the most well-coached football team across the board in all three phases. And I think most of all, they were close last year. And yet this is what a good head coach should do. Where are we deficient? He said the trenches weren't good enough. They go out in the transfer portal, and the guys they prioritized in the portal are contributing now. They contributed to that victory. They went on the road and lost to Ohio State and Notre Dame in the playoffs. In the Ohio State game, they didn't have a silent count. Crazy, but he learned his lesson. He said, we're never going to do that again, and he had to adjust their road process. How many teams in the history are winning on the road at Autzen in Oregon, on the road in Iowa City at Iowa, on the road in Happy Valley at Penn State, and then in the Big Ten championship in a ruckus environment? Every area, he said, here's where we fell short in. Here is my plan to elevate it. It was elevated, and now they're 13-0. Like, we're talking about Indiana might be an undefeated national champion. I can't believe
in year
it.
2 of a rebuild.
Year two.
And not like it's not like he rebuilt it with, oh, you know what? Here's all the money. Right? We're going to put all the money in Indiana. We're going to go get the number 1 tackle in the portal. We're going to go get the number 1 quarter. We're going to get all these guys. We're going to get all the best recruits. And then we're going to be great. No. Hey, I'm going to bring a few guys from JMU that I think can play at this level. I'm going to have a 5'9" corner who's going to just dominate college football, Big Ten as a corner at 5'9", 120 pounds, soaking wet. I'm going to bring my coaches. And we're going to just trust what we
Who
did
I
at
got
JMU.
those coaches, I paid them $6,000 a piece originally.
Mm-hmm.
Those coordinators.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not gonna have all that money. So I'm gonna coach. Whoa. That seems like an anomaly today. It's spin. Throw him out there. Spin. Throw him out there. Hey, he's got money. Throw him out there. Oh, he's not ready? Throw him out there. We're paying him. No, I'm going to coach. I'm going to build. I'm going to create a culture of winning. I'm going to change the mindset of a group of people who have the potential to do it, but can't holistically believe in themselves, right? Indiana fans throughout history, the older fans, the young fans, they have no idea about what Indiana has done. It's almost like the Lions, right? Young fans for the Lions, they have no idea what the Lions have done to most people. No, those young fans, they didn't know. Those young players, they don't know. And I was talking to Shanks on the elevator going up to the booth, and he said, I'm 54 years old. I know what we have been. I'm not super confident in this, right? You can't be. It's hard. It's difficult. It's Indiana. We're not supposed to be here. But he said one thing. He said, those players and these young fans, they don't know that we're not supposed to be here. And that's key. That's key. And for Cignetti to allow the noise in, because the noise is going to get in. The noise of you can't, you're Indiana, there's no way. All that stuff can get in. And for him to flip it and frame it in a way that allows for all of them to hear that noise, and it's almost like gas and fuel for them to continue. It's unbelievable. It reminds me of D'Antonio at Michigan State. Right? It reminds me of D'Antonio. Not I think he's on a much higher level, but in that way of like nobody believes it. Like they were the best defense in all the land, and he's still finding a way for them to say they don't believe in us. They think we're weak. We're a little brother. And it's just like, what are you talking about? Nobody thinks that. However, for Indiana, people actually did think that, even though they were the number 2 team in the country. It's going to be 31-7. They're going to get blown out. We've seen this last year. We've seen this story before. And I remember his interview before the game against Penn State. And Gene Tapp asked him a great question. She says, this team's never beat Penn State here before. How are you going to do it? And he looked at her with a serious face and said, this team's never played here, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to trick yourself. Like all the history, of course, history matters. And if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. Of course, we get that. But if you can find a way to have that mindset to say, yeah, that's the history, but the reality is this team has never played here. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, we know what happened.
Yeah.
Indiana's Big Ten champs. Unbelievable. I'm so impressed by what he's been able to do.
What's so crazy to me though, Dev, and especially this year, is like every team has the same amount of hours. There's really not much variance in practice or meeting, but somehow like his team in high pressure moments, they execute at a higher level. Like at a higher level. That was a high pressure game. And yet wide receiver 2 goes down. Who's Charlie Becker? Balls out. Omar Coomer has been relied on. He balled out when his number was called. Surratt's been called on. He balled out when his number's been called. It's that every coach has the same goals, but Cignetti at Indiana has gotten his team and his program to execute at that high level. And it's like now Indiana's the standard. Like Indiana's the standard. That's what's crazy to me.
Something interesting you just said is everybody has the same amount of time. But you've met with Cignetti. They don't even use all that time. He said, when your work is done, get out. Our practices are not going to be 4 hours long, 3 hours. So the thing is, he's actually using less time, right? Because it's no fluff. There's no fluff. There's no coach speak. There is the work that needs to be done, the plan that needs to be put in place, the execution of that plan, and we're done. And it's unbelievable because the saying is, you got to stay, and you can't ever go home. You got to sleep in the building. You can never, and he just doesn't believe that. And with, like I said before, no 5 stars, not a whole bunch of money in the program as far as NIL and all those different things, especially compared to who they're playing against in Oregon and in Ohio State and things like that in Michigan. With none of that, using less time, a different formula than we've all been taught, right? How many times do you need to be in the building? I need to see you here. You need to be here all day. Never leave. Somehow his team is more prepared, more technically sound, and hungrier than any team we've watched. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I think because he doesn't even practice. Like some teams will practice for 2.5 hours. He's like, no, we're quick practice. And I think it's like here he has some system in his mind where it is process first. And then if you do the process right, you'll get the desired outcome. And once that desired outcome is established, I know Cignetti saying, we will win. We will win. Hey, Mendoza, if you come here and you listen to me, you will be the Conference Player of the Year, the Heisman, and we're going to win a ton of games. Earlier in the year, Mendoza reached out to Matt Leinart, and he said, hey, Matt, how did you deal with winning and the Heisman? And Cignetti said, what the hell are you talking about? You're not good enough. You need to get better. Get back. Where's your mind at?
Why are you even thinking about that?
And Mendoza's gotten better as the season has went on.
Let me tell you how much better. So I had them after they played Old Dominion. And I challenge everyone to go back and watch intently that Old Dominion. If you know anything about quarterbacking, if you think you know, if you watch this show, we've given you the blueprint, you think you know, go watch him versus Old Dominion. God awful. And when I say god awful, I mean god awful. I was very kind in my open to the next game, saying that he's going to get it figured out because I listened to Cignetti. His footwork never matched it looked like, fans of Michigan, you're going to hear it. You're going to see it. It looked like Bryce Underwood, how we've seen him throughout this year. Feet were never tied to the concept. Never on time. No real conviction with his throws a lot of times. Minus the Bryce Underwood talent, right? He's talented, but not like that, right? And so it was so bad. And I got in a meeting with Cignetti, and I'm always transparent. Listen, I don't know if this is going to hurt your feelings, and I'm so happy that it didn't hurt his feelings, that his quarterback didn't play well, and I noticed it because I did my homework, and I think maybe he appreciates it. And I'm just like, well, where to next? Because it just doesn't look like what we saw from Rourke a year ago. Obviously, he got the added element of his legs, okay? But as far as playing the quarterback position, it was just not pleasant to watch. I'll just say that. And he said, Devin, this has always happened to me, We get a quarterback in the spring, and not that good. They're actually bad. But by the end of the spring, they play a little better. And then in the fall, same kind of thing. All right. And then as you move along, it's like, maybe we might have something. Then they end early in the season, the first game. Remember, Rourke wasn't that good. Everybody remembers what he was later. But he was like, Rourke wasn't that good to begin the season. And I'm like, that's right. And so he's like, yeah, all that stuff is true. But every single quarterback that I've had, going all the way back, just go look them up. Nobody believed in them. And then they won the Player of the Year, period. That's it. They won. Yeah. Nobody believed in them, and they were either Conference Player of the Year, Quarterback of the Year, all those different things by the end of the year, right? And it goes back to what you said about the process, right? And so after that, I talked to Cignetti and the coordinator and Cignetti both told me he will be fine. He's had the greatest week of practice that he's had since he's been here because he understands it now. I think he has a better idea of what we want from him, and I guaranteed me, that his footwork is going to be better. His throws are going to be better. Everything going to be better. His grasp of the offense is going to appear much better. And he went out and lit it up. And then, as you know, he lit it up so much so that he's probably going to win the Heisman. And I will never not believe anything Cignetti tells me now. I have to believe him. I have to.
Every promise he's made has been real.
Everybody at home, if you think you know quarterback, go watch Old Dominion, Indiana. And you tell me if that's a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You tell me.
There's an important thing here too, though, because again, I go back to we've talked about this with Bryce. Is that film was really, really bad. It did get better throughout the season, and then all of a sudden he started to enter these Heisman conversations. And what Cignetti could have done was he did get better. I told you he'd get better. But I met with him when they played Wisconsin, and Cignetti told us the same thing. He said he's gotten better, but he has a long way to go. He He can get even better.
Process.
I really believe that. Process. And I bet he's pointing to the film. I bet they're watching the film together.
What is this, Mendoza?
What is this? Yeah.
What is this, Mendoza? For people at home, people that are watching, this is what the coach does to you when you're wrong. He circles you 300 times on pause. What is this? We've got guys, it is so embarrassing in film, as you know. You didn't make a whole bunch of mistakes, so you didn't have that. But that circle point, that red pointer, when you're getting circled for 3 minutes straight and just getting chewed out in front of everybody, it's not good. And Mendoza's probably experiencing that after basically solidifying the Heisman, I would say.
Hey, let me ask you this, though, Dev, because you played Ohio State, broken foot, toughness.
Yeah.
He took a shot on that first play of the game. What were you thinking? What does that feel like as a quarterback?
I'm going to be completely honest. I said, I don't know if he can come back from this. Because that's his whole thing, at Cal, he was a good player, but under pressure, it just wasn't good. And that's most quarterbacks, right? And so for the game to start like that, what kind of mindset do you have to continue to battle? If wait, this is the second play? Wait, this is the second play I'm dealing with this? Where I don't know what the injury was, but he didn't get up for quite some time. Right? No. And it's just I don't know how he responds. And again, the young man responded, and everybody talks about how calculated he is with his responses in the media and whatever. And I'm just here to tell you, I talked to his little brother in the weight room when I had their game. I thought it was him, first of all. I thought it was him because they look alike. I was like, Mendoza's like, yeah, not that Mendoza. And so I kind of talked to him about him, his upbringing, his family, all these different things, and how cool it is to have his brother there. And what you hear from Mendoza, as quirky, as weird, as whatever you want to say it is, that's him. And that's him. And that allows him, I believe, his personality allows him to be humble. It allows him to grow. It allows him to not dwell on the bad things that are happening. He's very optimistic, and it's incredible. And I said in my game, way early in the season, I said, listen, this is going to be a better Indiana football team because everything else is going to be intact, and the quarterback not only can play from the pocket, but that added dimension that he can move. He's going to make some big plays throughout this season with his legs, and it came to fruition. He did it in that game. He did it in every game. He did it in Penn State. He did it quarterback draw here or there. Not rushing for 100 yards a game, but when they need your legs, everything else is covered. He's made a play every single time, and that's the difference between him and New York, and that's the difference between last year's Indiana and this year's Indiana. Because they lost a lot of good pieces last year. But the upgrade at quarterback, that's how important it is in the college football game. If you upgrade at quarterback, if your quarterback is dynamic, you've got a chance, period.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And the other piece here too, and we'll take a break here and talk some Michigan recruiting, but again, it's all 11 in all three phases. Receivers making contested catches, offensive line straining and blocking, the coordinator patient with the game plan, didn't press. It was a team game plan. Defense tackled well. To your point earlier, I think Indiana likes being doubted. At some point, people need to stop doubting them. It seems like we're getting closer to that point, but it might take them going undefeated and winning an Natty for everybody to stop doubting them. So,
Jake, they're doing this with no money, no high-level recruits. Imagine because I'm just telling you, you were in the thought around is like, oh, our basketball team's not doing great. Get that. We're a basketball place. We're a football place now. We're going to put the money in football. And you don't sign Cignetti, you don't sign that kind of deal like how he signed if there's no promises of we're piping money in. And if you can do this without the money, oh my, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. All right. We'll step aside for a break. We're going to bring in Allen Trieu, one of the lead voices of high school recruiting. And to this, I saw Allen Trieu. He just talked to a 5-star that is bought into Indiana. We'll talk most with him about Michigan's class. But Allen Trieu has all the insight to project Michigan going forward and Indiana going forward. So that's on the other side of the break. Support for The Blueprint comes from Google. Every August, we talk about new rule changes coming to college football. But now that we're in the middle of the season, it's hard to follow the real impact those rules are having on the games. One that comes to mind is the definition of a defenseless player. Obviously, targeting is one of those plays that's really subjective. It has a major impact on games, and it's really fluid in terms of how it gets called.
But with AI mode and Google search, you can just type in, how have this year's college football rule changes impacted the season so far? And AI mode will pull together the key details and give you the summarized AI-powered response. It's perfect for those big, nuanced questions that don't have a simple answer. It doesn't end there. Let's say you want to keep going deeper. With AI mode, you don't have to start a whole new search. You can ask direct follow-ups to learn more about specifics and explore related ideas.
So whether you're wondering about a complex scheme, a new rule, or the intricacies of the transfer portal, with AI mode, you can just ask Google.
All right, welcome back to The Blueprint. Obviously, you guys are very smart people, so you've liked and subscribed because we've given you the blueprint on what Michigan needs to do. And now we have one of the most special guests of all of eternity. One of my greatest friends, I would say, right? Would you say that, Allen? One of my greatest friends. We pretty much grew up in this business together. Me starting as a goofy recruit with braces, and you going to every single. I'm like, how is he getting here? Does he have a private helicopter? How is he getting to all these places so fast with his backpack, his notes, and everything? And ladies and gentlemen, this is Allen Trieu. First of all, this is Allen Trieu. And I really want to start this off with you telling a story of how you began. Because like I talked about, I had you on my show, and that's how I found out this story. But people, they look at you and they say, well, he never played. How does he know? He never did this. He never did that. But for me, I put a lot of stock in guys that played. Jake Butt, myself, we played the game, right? So we do know a lot. However, when there's someone that did the work, you can learn a lot. And you can become as great as I believe Allen Trieu is when it comes to judging and understanding who can play and who's going to help and who can Michigan get that's going to make the program great. So tell the story firstly of how you even got your first credential, how old you were, and then we're going to get into what you think about the Michigan football recruiting class to this point.
Okay, all right, multiple things here. First of all, I got around everywhere because I had a RAV4 with good gas mileage and a 6 CD changer.
Let's go.
And it got me from place to place. I missed that car, so I wanted to give a shout out to the old RAV4. That
got to give a shout out
at some point. Okay, so I did play a little bit. People don't know that. I don't talk about it. I wasn't good enough for it to matter. But when people are like, "Oh, you didn't play," I did play. So I played some football. But the first thing was in eighth grade computers class, Jake. Everybody had to learn how to build a website. Not like now where you have Wix and you have things that'll make a website for you. This is like you learn how to code HTML and build a website. Okay, so you make some kind of website. I make a scouting website, a draft website, and I start putting scouting reports on there. I start VHS recording college games and rewatching them and writing scouting reports and sometimes figuring out how to put a little bit of video on there. It wasn't quite as easy back then. So a couple years later, the website is going. There weren't a lot of draft sites back then. There was maybe single digits we're talking at that point. And I decided, I'm just going to try to see if they'll credential me for the combine. And lo and behold, they said yes, which would never happen today. So I was 15, 16, something in there. And my mom drove me to Indianapolis.
I couldn't even drive. You got a credential to the combine and couldn't even drive.
Is the website still up?
No, it was on GeoCities and they took down all. I've tried to find this thing. There is somewhere later that website evolved and you can see a later version of it, but not the original one that went up. So then what happened was I started when I was playing in high school, some of my teammates were trying to get recruited and I knew how to put a VCR into another VCR and make a VHS highlight tape to mail out. So that's how I got into the recruiting side of things. And then a few years later, some kid with braces from U of D sent me a VHS tape. And then that's how this started.
Let's go. Let's go.
I mean, if for anyone viewing, basically like that, this is why you can trust Allen Trieu's word. I mean, talk about getting it out of the mud, carving his own path. And you've been doing it. How long have you been doing this then? Writing scouting reports. When was your first scouting report?
That was like the 1999 draft or something like that. It was a long time ago, First year in recruiting was probably 2004, 2005. In there, decades. I was, in my dorm room at Grand Valley.
Before we came on, I called you the Curt Cignetti of recruiting.
That means something a lot more. That's
you're the Curt Cignetti. You put the work in underneath the dirt. Never even really peeked your head up for air. Drove the RAV4, and now we're gonna get your take on how Michigan is doing in recruiting. And because of that story, and because of my vouching for you, because of Jake vouching for you, this is the blueprint. So we're about to get the blueprint right here, right now, on what Michigan can be, will be, and who else they can go after in that second signing period.
Yep. Covered both of you guys, by the way. I know Devin super well, but also covered Jake in high school. I didn't freeze through his multiple of his playoff games like Devin, but
those games were so cool.
Did you guys ever play a playoff game that wasn't like single degrees?
No, it didn't exist.
Muskegon Catholic and Chelsea were two of the coldest. That's how I still remember them. It was two of the coldest times I've ever been doing my job.
You don't know this. In my senior year, we played every single game on the road. And I feel like you had to be at more than half of those. And they weren't close games, right? Steubenville, St. Edwards, St. Ignatius, Muskegon again, East Kentwood. You were at East Kentwood. I threw for 450 and we lost. Unbelievable how dedicated Allen Trieu has been from the beginning. But all road games, my jersey was like brown, tan by the time we got to the state championship. And Allen Trieu was there for pretty much all of them, right? I mean,
a lot of those. Zeeland West, which was my school.
Zeeland West, forgot about that one?
Yeah.
We didn't play a game within, 20 miles unless it was like Highland Park.
That was trying to make it, Allen. Today, I still go a lot of places. I don't think I would have been at all.
You don't got to do all
today.
that now.
No.
You don't got to do all that now.
Now it's all on Huddle or
That's
YouTube
right.
or everywhere. You can watch it all from the warmth of your home.
These kids are texting me video of the game from the fourth quarter when they get taken out sometimes. I'm like, isn't the game still going? And I'm getting
right. How are you doing
this?
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. Michigan top 10 class, some prized recruits, some drama. Coming off this year, we know Michigan has some holes to fill, especially to help Bryce out and to get where their goals ultimately where they want to be. I kind of just want to open things up widely because you've covered all the teams in a lot of Michigan's recruiting classes. Your just general thoughts on the haul that Michigan was able to secure.
Yeah, at the end, it got a little funny, a little dicey towards the end, but they still ended up keeping a lot of the guys in the class. But I think if you had said before this class was built, what are the priorities in this class? I think a lot of Michigan fans would say we need some weapons on offense. So if you say that and then you come out at the end with the number one running back in the country and multiple wide receivers who are 4-star type guys or high level recruits, I think mission accomplished as far as that goes. You always want guys up front, but didn't need guys up front, right? I think the offensive skill positions were the biggest needs. I think linebacker was a little bit of a need too, and they spun their wheels there a little bit, had to go into the fall this year a little bit and flip some guys. So I think if you considered the skill positions on offense and linebackers on defense as the two big areas of need, I think they filled those quite well.
That to your point, Michigan, 3 redshirt freshman offensive linemen. So those guys are going to be back, and they're going to have Evan Link back. The offensive line should be good. It's Savion Hiter from Virginia, right? Because now we know that Justice Haynes has a decision to make. Jordan Marshall will be back, but we saw what happened in the Ohio State game when guys get injured. I know Michigan fans are really excited about him as a prospect. What should they expect from him as a prospect? Do you think he can make immediate impact?
Yeah, I think he can, just because I think, again, you saw this year that that's a position where you have to have some depth in the room or things can go south pretty quickly. I mean, even having Bryson's Kudzel's from Grand Rapids, so I watched him play, and I knew he was going to be pretty good if you needed him to play. So even having that kind of depth, that's just not a place that you can't have some bodies. Savion is, he is special. There's a lot of guys who are up for that number one running back title. And I think that running backs can be hard to evaluate at the high school level because they're just better than everyone else. And sometimes they've been better for their whole lives. A lot of those guys have been the running back since youth ball, and they are just running past and through everybody. So they don't learn the nuance that when you miss that. I think that running back, if you go back over the years I watched the 30 for 30 about Marcus Dupree and all of those, there's probably been more like high level misses at running back, I think, than almost any position. And that's why, because
in one class, Allen, Derek Green was the number one running back and Derrick Henry was in the class. That just tells you all need to know, right? It's so difficult. The competition level that they're playing against, right? You're not from everywhere, Allen. You might be from everywhere because you've been everywhere. However, you don't know every single nuance of every single place that these kids play in, and the stats can be skewed, right? Maybe you play one game against a team that was deaf and blind and you rush for 500 yards. So now it makes, you know what I mean? It's just so difficult to see. And even with quarterback as well, but we all know that. That's openly known. But the running back, I don't think people understand how difficult it is to make sure that a running back can perform at the level they need to at this level. And so I guess my question for you is, what are the specific traits for Hiter that say he certainly can perform, especially behind the offensive line, like what U of M has tried out there the last few years?
So I think the physicality in the way that he runs, because that's going to translate a little bit. It's going to translate a lot. So I think the things that make running back hard are knowing if a guy will be able to run through people. Will he grind out tough yardage? Because a lot of those guys don't have to do that in high school, and then they get into college, and sometimes you need them to make a 4-yard run, and they're trying to hit home runs. I think with him, we've seen signs that he's not that kind of guy who's just searching. The home run happens a lot for him because he's good, but he's not a guy who goes searching for it only to hit the home run. I think he's got some instincts for the position and some understanding of the position and some physicality that all make him You're never fully bust proof, but he's not a guy who just, well, this is the biggest, fastest guy on the field and he's just running by everybody. There is some nuance to his game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember because Derek Green had good film, like based off his film. You're like, oh, yeah. I mean, everyone wanted him. I think Bama wanted him.
Hold on now. I will say this. Freddie J hated his film.
Really?
Fred Jackson hated it. He didn't like it. What? He didn't think he was a good player. I got to put that out there because we don't want Freddie J walking around getting mad at me because I know that for a fact. Freddie J was not on board with Derek Green. However, that was the sentiment for most people for Derek Green, yes.
We got to get Freddie J on then to get the eval.
Oh, Freddie J.
Freddie J's still in the room now, so that can give you some confidence on Savion because I think he had some, a little something to do. He's still around. He is
sold on him. I've talked to him. He is sold on Hiter.
Good.
He was not sold on Derek Green. Yeah.
Yeah.
Receiver, we were talking about Travis Johnson, and that there was a little drama there, right? Some teams. Can you kind of walk us through maybe, I don't know, what was some of the drama? What was going on? Yeah. And then what's Michigan getting?
So I think, first of all, people know by now, so I can say this. There were issues with the contracts in Michigan, whether it was misunderstanding or whatever it was. The kids weren't they weren't on the same page. In the time they got on the same page, in the time that it took, and I think this was happening with Travis anyway, James Franklin was coming at him hard, which you expect, right? He's a Virginia kid. He's at Oscar Smith. That's a big school. James is going to recruit that school a lot. And, we'll just to say it, they came with some NIL. And so it was a big deal. And he was definitely considering that. And so it was still going back and forth. Even as I was driving into Chicago to do the BTN show with you, we still weren't fully confident that we were going to put Travis Johnson in the show that day. Because
I think I had to put a disclaimer on there before I talked about him.
Yeah, we did just to make sure, because there was a real chance there that Virginia Tech was going to end up on top. So Michigan got him in the class, which is massive, especially now also knowing that Zion Robinson flipped that day to Stanford. You needed a number one type receiver in this class, and I think he's the guy. 6'3".
Let me ask you this. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, 6'3", basketball player type guy. I think when we broke him down, he's super smooth, got the ball skills. I know in this class, Michigan wanted to get bigger at receiver. Hence, him and Zion were the two of the guys that they targeted pretty hard. I know some people asked about Calvin Russell. He was recruited. So a lot of bigger outside type receivers were recruited in this class.
I want to do a little exercise. Do you remember Andrew Marsh, his tape, and what you thought about him?
I remember Andrew Marsh. I also watched Andrew Marsh work out at Michigan, as a matter of fact. And was very, very obvious.
Obvious. Okay.
But he wasn't, he's still not, he's not this, he doesn't have the height and the length Travis does. Those aren't, I think the things that make Andrew special and the things that make Travis special are a little bit different. There's some overlap, obviously. But with Travis, you have more of this big contested catch guy. But when you see a guy who, not that he's going to be a return man probably, or a big after the catch guy at the college level, but when you see a guy that big doing it at the high school level, you also know you're getting that kind of an athlete.
Okay. All right. That's good. Michigan will be replacing Derek Moore and Jayshawn Barham on the edge. Insert Carter Meadows, 5-star. Freaky athlete. But what's been your evaluation and as you followed him throughout the process?
Yeah, that's another position now where I think it's when we talk about, and it's not just me, people think I just, make our national board at 24/7, but there's a whole team of people who do this, right? I think the edges have become a place where it's hard to start to separate guys at the top too, because you have a lot of 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", small forward, power forward type guys who are playing that position now. That's what everybody wants, and there's a lot of them around. So you have to start to separate these guys. And Carter, in a position group of really good athletes, even stood out a notch above. And another guy who plays with some of that tenacity. And that area is also really good for high school football. So he's not playing against slouches every week. I mean, he's running down some backs that can play. He's going against some offensive tackles that can play. I mean, I think that's Evan Link's school. that he comes from, and that's the conference that Michigan's recruited a lot of guys from, and so he is elite. He is elite. I think the biggest question with him, as far as will you see him in some passing situations next year, is at 225. He's got a very lean frame. If he can get a little weight on, that's a guy you can definitely see. I think you'll see him early in his career. But
what I'm hearing for you, Allen, is like, you remember Frank Clark? Remember, he was a little undersized, but he was like playing receiver. He ran like a 21 in the 200. Like this freak athlete that really nobody truly knew about. Right? Maybe it was just because the internet, it wasn't as explosive as it is now. But is that a good comp of like, hey, maybe a little undersized right now, but the power is in his legs. The power is there. He can put on weight, but early as a pass rusher, he can really make a difference.
Yeah, I can see that. Frank was playing 7-on-7 at receiver when
Incredible too.
Yeah. That was when Michigan.
I was at that 7-on-7. He was playing for the Say Again team.
Yeah. And he ran a go route, and they, like, to your point, everybody went, "Who is that guy?"
He's a dean.
Glenville, Ohio, right? Yeah.
But that team had, his 7-on-7 team had probably 5, 6, 7 major recruits on it. He wasn't. He wasn't one of them at the time.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah. But yeah, a good comp. Carter, I think, even maybe like Carter has some even more height and length to him. But as far as like where he's at in his development and what he needs to do in style of play, yeah, very, very similar. I think you compare him to a guy like last year. Nate Marshall was the big pickup last year. And I think Nate physically was a little bit more ready just because he came in at 265, 270. So that's where you saw Nate get some snaps this year. But Carter is no doubt, Derek Moore actually kind of was built a little bit like this coming out too.
Carter seems more twitchy than Derek Moore. Derek Moore used a lot of power, still does, but earlier in his career, I remember that. But Carter's he's not graduating high school early because his high school won't release him. Dev, can you imagine that? His high school, he's got to be a summer arrival.
Allen Trieu remembers I had that same story. Inkster did not want to allow me. They didn't want to, but somehow, some way, we figured that out, and I got a chance to graduate early, which was super important. For me, the thing would be, you want to get him in early for the physical development, right? Because his talent is his talent, and it's probably going to take a year for him to get to the point where you really want him to be, but you want to get him started early, eating right, working out, and doing all those different things. Now, there are a lot of different resources now that maybe he will be able to do that with the money he garners and all those different things, but being in a college program, Jake, there's nothing like it. The weight you can put on in a short amount of time, I think that will really help. So that's criminal. And maybe they can use some of the same Gestapo tactics to find a way to get him graduated early like they did me.
Yeah, there's still time. Allen, aside from the big guys, if you had to project someone that's maybe not being discussed at a high level, even like a low 4-star, someone that, I don't know, could really make an impact in their career from this class, who would you, maybe one or two guys?
Yeah, so I'll go one on offense, one on defense. On offense, I think, talking about receiver, Jalen Pyle is a guy that got recruited early. He's ranked towards the bottom of the class. He plays at a smaller private school in Texas. So I think that's why he wasn't at one of the major schools. He doesn't play great comp, but that kid had a fantastic senior season. He really had a fantastic sophomore and junior season that got him recruited. Michigan took his commitment last November. You're talking November of his junior year, and that's at a key position. So I think that tells you what Michigan thinks of him. And I thought he really kind of validated their confidence this year with the way he played. So that was one where I thought the ranking maybe didn't match up to the senior tape this year. He was really, really good and doesn't get talked a lot about in the class because of the hitters and the Travis Johnsons and such. On defense, Aiden Reeder is a kid they flipped from Wisconsin late in the process, and a St. X guy. So Jake, Ohio football, St. X, really great program, very well coached, and a kid they asked to do a lot of different things. Played some schools thought he might be an edge. He's 6'3", 215 pounds. Michigan's going to play him as a Mike. So a guy who's going to come in very well schooled. That's a kid that I think very under the radar, both because of the position that he plays and Michigan needing that position and his talent. That's a guy I think is going to end up playing.
Hausman gone, Roeder gone, Barham moved to edge. So, yeah, Sullivan should be back. But, yeah, and then that's competition where you're playing. I mean, I remember, I think, didn't Kyle Kalis went there, and his entire
Kyle
offensive
Kalis went
line
St. Ed's, right?
St.
Neds. Yeah.
I had to play Cal Kalis in his team.
Yep.
You did?
Yes.
Dev, you know Kalis's offensive line, their average size was the third biggest O-line in Ohio. They were behind.
I was on the sideline watching them. I'm like, why do all these guys have knee braces? Where did they get those? I know that you have to go to medical and make sure. Why do they all have knee braces? It's ridiculous. We beat them. We beat them.
College. You did?
We beat them.
Dang, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we beat St. Edwards.
Wow. That's amazing.
Devin Gardner was at the hell.
Mm-hmm. How many yards?
I don't know. Do you remember that, Allen? I don't remember that one. It was a dogfight because they were really good. They went undefeated and won the Ohio State championship the next year. But that year we got them somehow, some way. We only lost one. We went to Ohio 3 times. We broke Steubenville's winning streak. We beat St. Ed's and we lost to St. Ignatius. The caveat being, it was AstroTurf and we all wore cleats. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
They had team shoes on. They were wearing LeBrons, is all I'm saying. Jordans and LeBrons, we're out there with the plastic cleats, and you know how that is on AstroTurf, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, you got out of there with your health. That's most, in that case,
I didn't die. I could have died. I didn't die. It's all good.
Yeah. All right, we'll let you run here in a second, Allen. Appreciate you joining us. I did have one question because, when you look at like Adam Schefter or Woj, they always say they sleep with their phone by them. Is that something you do?
Everything.
Is it always on?
Yeah, I can't have it always on or it'll just go boop, boop, boop. But if I wake up in the middle of the night, I roll over and look just to make sure I'm not missing something. And sometimes I got to get up and go write something or put out a fire. I mean, anytime that I'm away from my phone, I get a little anxiety. Like I hop in the shower or I go like when I run with my phone and it's so annoying. Like I'm using it for music, but it's going boop, boop, boop. But every, 1 in every 10 of those is something I need. So it's a little bit my cross to bear, but I have at least 4 or 5 days a year that I schedule out as these are no phone type days, like on Christmas and certain holidays where this thing's going on the charger, and I don't care if Tom Brady regains eligibility and is in the transfer portal. I'm not writing that story.
Good. How many unread texts? I think Schefter had a famous. He said he has 0 unread texts right now.
My girl is always like, when I plug my phone in the car, she's like, what does that number say? 4,134 right now.
Okay. I can tell you right now, though, none of those are from me because Allen always gets back to me. Love you, man.
Always. I have people go in different buckets. You always answer these people bucket. Devin's in that bucket.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you. You got back right to me last week to join this show. So I appreciate you. We appreciate you. We're looking forward to it. Next year, we'll look back on your predictions and say, we told you. Allen Trieu.
This is the blueprint.
Got it done. It's the blueprint.
This can't really be the blueprint without the leader of the blueprint of what Michigan's going to do. We have them right here. So, another reason why you come to the best Michigan football podcast in all the land. It's not even close at this point.
You're the best. Thanks, man.
I watch it. I follow you guys. So you guys are doing great stuff. It's cool to see, from the little guy sending me VHS tapes to look at him now.
Very what Jim Harbaugh used to say? A rising tide raises all ships. So you help raise our shift. We help raise your shift. And now all of our ships are being raised. We appreciate it.
Just floating over the world.
Yeah. Thanks, man. All right. Have a great holiday. Thanks so much. Glad. Does it slow down a little bit for you here?
It will. This is the week where it starts. You caught me at a perfect time. So
great.
Let's slow down a little bit.
Yep. Well, enjoy it. We appreciate you
guys.
See you soon. All right, final segment of an awesome episode of The Blueprint. We appreciate you guys. Please subscribe. Please like. Send it to all your friends. Big news. We have a special guest to do a full deep dive on the Michigan-Texas matchup next week. So you guys set your notifications. It's going to be an awesome
Wait, can
show.
we tell them? We got to tell them, right? Can we tell them?
Tell them? Or do you want to keep it dangling?
No, we got to tell them so they know, like, the Blueprint's getting that. Mac Brown, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a huge fan of Mac Brown. Obviously I grew up in the North, but Mac Brown is like, when you think Mac Brown, you think Vince Young. That's the way I kind of model my game. It's just it's going to be very good and cool for me. Obviously, as a football fan, for Jake, same thing.
He's a legend.
He is a legend, and he's agreed to come on the Blueprint. Who's getting Mac Brown?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's getting Mack Brown? We got Beanie Wells, right? Who was great, and I hate that we kind of like Beanie because he was so good, he was so nice and kind. But I mean, I just think it's really cool that we're gonna get Mack Brown on the show next week to talk, and we'll give you all the numbers, the blueprint. We're gonna give you the blueprint on why we're gonna beat Texas.
Yeah, and really, you guys, the viewers, you get Mack Brown too. I mean, this is awesome. This is awesome. So that'll be cool. Set your notifications, and I think during the Big Ten championship, news broke. We knew Michigan had moved on from their special teams coordinator and immediately fill it with Kerry Combs, the former Ohio State defensive backs coach, was involved with special teams. I'm sitting there right next to Urban Meyer, and he comes and taps me on my shoulder, and he shows me the tweet. He said, he's a good one, really good one. Here's the keys, Dev. He said, you will not find a more detail-oriented guy. And he said he's going to coach players hard. That is exactly what special teams is. And that's really what Michigan could have used this year and what they will benefit from next year. On top of the fact, you already go get it. Your gain is your rival's loss. Michigan goes and gets Tony Alford from Ohio State, two of the best running backs in college football. Now you sign a 5-star Savion Hiter. Now you go get a guy that knows that program really well, has the respect of Urban Meyer, and should help elevate Michigan special teams. Not going to be okay with the 20-yard punt in the game. I can't imagine Kerry Combs is just going to be okay with that. Someone's getting their butts chewed out on the sidelines.
And Jake, I heard, this is through the grapevine, so I don't know if it's true or not. You can confirm or deny. It's up to you. I heard that Jake Butt threw a pizza party specifically, because he hates the special teams of Michigan this year. I heard you throw a pizza party. I don't know if it's true. You can confirm or deny, or you can, you have the right to Fifth Amendment,
I'm throwing like a month-long celebration. I'm throwing multiple pizza parties, and then we're going to throw a pizza party.
I don't think it's a secret that you hate Michigan special teams. You hated it.
It's painful.
I mean, not only you, though. It's not like you're like the unique guy in the situation. Everybody hated Michigan special teams. So I think this is a huge get for Michigan, and the as much as Michigan fans don't love Urban Meyer, his endorsement is huge there, because as much as whatever you want to think of him, great football coach, and understands, and he made sure that this guy was the guy making sure that all the details for his teams were good on special teams. So you've got to make sure that that is a thing.
And the last thing I'll say, too, is I give Sherrone credit, because, I mean, this is what we talked about after the Ohio State game of what areas Michigan needed to prioritize, and this was one of the key areas, and moved very, very quickly. And we'll get a chance to see, I mean, in the Texas game, again, we'll probably talk about that at some point. It should be some new wrinkles immediately in that Texas game, if not, full schemes, but technicalities. So that'll be a big plus, Steph. That'll be a big plus for sure. But
next week will be fun. Our next episode, obviously, Mack Brown, but we dive back into the blueprint. What do we need to do to dominate Texas's defense? Period. How can Bryce Underwood improve? What are the things you need to look forward to? But you can't see that and know that if the notifications aren't on, if you're not subscribed, if you haven't sent it to, well, I guess you could do it if you haven't sent it to your friends, but that would not be a good fan. Still, send it to all your friends. Like it. It's been a great show, a great year. But guys, remember, we're going to be here all the time. Not even after the bowl game. We're still going to be here. You're going to get us every single week.
Hey, at some point, we might have to talk about Michigan basketball, too, because we might be winning a natty there at some point.
Oh, yeah.
They're rolling. It's amazing. But great show. Great stuff. Allen Trieu, thanks for joining us. How about the guests? Allen Trieu and Mack Brown. We are rolling. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.